With Sam Williams-Dixon returned to Ohio State, the Buckeyes running back room just got even stronger.
You are Locked On Buckeyes, your daily podcast on the Ohio State Buckeyes. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in, Buckeye fans, to your Feel Good Friday edition of Locked On Buckeyes, which is your daily Ohio State podcast. Part of Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. I'm your host, Jay Stevens, also the host of the Jay Stevens Podcast. And today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. During today's show, we'll discuss who will call plays to the Buckeyes offense in 2025. But first, with Sam Williams-Dixon returned to Ohio State, the Buckeyes running back room just got even stronger. And Sam Williams-Dixon entered the portal in January. He withdrew his name in the middle of this week. And that decision kind of reminds me about times when I have a path that I have gone on. I've driven this path numerous times to get to one location. And then all of a sudden I try something new, or I try a different route. And I try two routes. I try three different routes. And all of a sudden I realize that original route that I was on is the best route to go. It's the same thing with Sam Williams-Dixon. He thought maybe going to a different school was the best thing for him right now. 1 year at Ohio State, didn't go like he thought it was going to go, didn't really sit at the end of the season in the spot that he wanted to sit, so he was going to go a different route. He had time in the portal, got to hear some things from different coaches from different teams. All of a sudden, he realizes where he was when he was at Ohio State was the best route for him. And this is the second year that's happened at Ohio State. A year ago, Bryson Rogers went to the portal, thought he was going to go to an ACC school. All of a sudden, he withdrew his name from the portal. He was back at Ohio State. Same thing with Sam Williams-Dixon. And this is big for him. It's big for the Buckeyes running back room that desperately needed to be strengthened. It needed some more guys that knew Carlos Loughlin, knew the Buckeyes offense, and knew the system. And that's what Sam Williams-Dixon is. And I believe his versatility and his skill set is going to be a great asset for Ohio State in an RB3 role, maybe RB2, but I think he's going to be going to have the RB3 role locked down. And when you think about James Peoples and CJ Donaldson and Sam Williams-Dixon, all three of them being the top three guys in the room, this is huge for the Buckeyes offense because we spent some time recently talking about the Buckeyes offense and them still needing to go to the portal to get someone to strengthen that room. Yeah, that guy coming in wouldn't know Loughlin very well and wouldn't know Loughlin's coaching style. He wouldn't really know the Buckeyes offense. But going out and get somebody experienced that would have drastically improved the room or would have strengthened it. But then when you can get Sam Williams-Dixon to return to Ohio State, he had 7 carries a year ago, played in 3 games, 7 carries for 53 yards, 7.6 yards a pop. You may look at Sports Reference that him being active and being on the field in the Notre Dame game does not go against his collegiate eligibility, as playoff games don't mess your potential up of being a redshirt. So he does have 4 years of collegiate eligibility remaining, which is huge because there are going to be a lot of guys that hit the portal in the spring. They may only have 1 year of eligibility left. It's kind of a 1 year rental. We're getting you. You're not going to start. You're a depth piece. And a lot of those guys might come in and mess with the culture. But Sam Williams-Dixon's already a culture guy. He knows what it means to be a Buckeye. He's lost his black stripe. And I think moving forward with this room, you have 2 guys in James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon that can help guys like CJ Donaldson. That can help the 3 incoming freshmen. Let's not forget TC Coffey. Well, I don't think TC Coffey being a walk-on running back is going to be one of the top 3 running backs in the room. It wouldn't shock me if he jumped some of the incoming freshmen to be RB4 at Ohio State because his experience, even though he missed a year ago because he suffered a season-ending injury, I think his experience in the Buckeye room, especially knowing Brian Hartline better than most of the guys at Ohio State in that room, that's going to be huge. But moving forward, one thing I have been very vocal about is Ohio State's need to go to the portal. I don't think you need to anymore. Yeah, Sam Williams-Dixon doesn't have the production that you may want to say. You may want an experienced guy to come in and strengthen the room. But I think his knowledge of Day, his knowledge of Hartline, his knowledge of Loughlin, I think the experience in his 1 year at Ohio State especially when he's not being asked to be RB1 or RB2. I think that's the strength the team needs with the running backs. And moving forward, it's going to be fun to see how Lachlan utilizes these guys. And last year it was a two-headed monster of Henderson and Judkins. It wouldn't shock me at all if James Peoples gets the bulk of the carries, let's say 15 carries a game. CJ Donaldson gets some of his short yardage touches, but then Sam Williams-Dixon can be a guy that's a third running back. He can be a guy that can be split out and be in the slot. He can be so versatile that he has a skill set different than Peoples and different than CJ Donaldson. And for Carlos Lachlan, he just got a gem. He just got blessed with a guy that can come in and help the younger guys. Now, while Lachlan's helping the younger guys, he's going to be able to look at it and say, you see those two guys right there? They've only been here for a year. But they quickly picked up the things that I'm putting down. They quickly realized the type of running style that need to get on the field in my room. They quickly realized that blocking is a premium. They picked up everything. Yeah, they didn't have the crazy numbers, and you didn't see James Peoples in the RB3 role have over 100 carries and over 300 rushing yards. No, you didn't see that. But what did you find? Efficient running, averaging 4 yards a pop as a true freshman in James Peoples, and having 2 touchdowns. Sam Williams-Dixon, 7 carries, averaging 7.6 yards a pop. Very efficient, very productive when they're out on the field. And for the young guys, I think those two are going to be great tools for them to figure out, what does it take to be a Buckeye? What do I have to do to lose my black stripe? What do I have to do to get on the field? How can I get on the field as a freshman? And for any of these freshman running backs, and Bo Jackson, Isaiah West, or even Turbo Rogers, the best way for those 3 guys to get on the field is to excel in special teams. Try to get on that punt team. Try to get on that punt block team. Try to get them kickoff or kick return. Figure out what you can do to wow the coaches so much that they can't do anything else to put you out there on special teams. And for Sam Williams-Dixon, I think he can be a solid special teams guy. I'm not saying he's going to be a returner. It's possible, but let's not forget, they got Mylan Graham. They got Brandon Ennis. They got 2 guys that can return the ball very, very well. Where Sam Williams-Dixon, that might be something in his bag, but that might not be a weapon he needs to utilize because he's being asked to do other things. Trust me, this room is going to be a lot of fun to watch. The growth of these players over the next 3 to 4 years is going to be a lot of fun to watch. While Ohio State might not keep them for the next 4 years, it's going to be fun to enjoy the James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon train while it's running in Columbus, Ohio. Williams-Dixon returns to Ohio State, strengthens Ohio State's running back room. It provides depth where in a room that desperately needs depth. And also, it's going to help the young guys. And I don't want to gloss over that anymore. I said it once. I'll probably say it 1,000 more times before the start of the season. Those 2 guys are going to be very big for helping the 3 incoming freshmen get acclimated to Buckeye football. Carlos Lachlan is limited on how much time he can spend with these young guys throughout the week. The teammates of these incoming freshmen, they're not limited on what they can do with the young guys to help them get up to speed with what it means to not only be a Buckeye, but to play for Carlos Lachlan and the things he expects from the players in his room. As I think about the talent in the RB room, I started to think about the talent on Ohio State's offense and the weapons Brian Hartline is able to use in the fall. This episode is brought to you by Factor. Looking to optimize your nutrition this year? Factor makes eating well easy with chef-prepared, dietitian-approved meals that are fresh, never frozen, and ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes. With 40 options across 8 dietary preferences every week, you can customize your meals to fit your lifestyle, whether it's calorie smart, protein plus, or keto. Plus, Factor even offers wholesome smoothies, breakfast, and grab-and-go snacks to keep you fueled all day long. I love how Factor takes the stress out of meal planning. The convenience is unbeatable. No prep, no mess, just great food in minutes. Eat smart with Factor. Get started at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off and use code LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off your first box plus free shipping. That's code LockedOnCollege50 off at factormeals.com/LockedOnCollege50 off to get 50% off plus free shipping on your first box. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes here on this Feel Good Friday and making this show your first listen of the day. When you think about Ohio State's running back room, you think about guys like James Peoples and Sam Williams-Dixon and C.J. Donaldson and maybe some freshmen like Turbo Rogers, and how some of them can be utilized in a great way in the fall. But then when you think about the receivers and the tight ends, there are three words that pop into my head when I think about those three position groups. So many weapons. From the running backs to the receivers to the tight ends, Brian Hartline is going to figure out a way to tap into these guys and to formulate a game plan every single week to allow these guys to be elite, to excel on the football field, and to just make the opposing defense have nightmares about what those guys did on the football field during that particular game. I mean, the running backs is easy, but I literally got, 6 receivers that could potentially be a big piece of the pie. Now, I don't truly believe there are going to be 6 guys in rotation every single week. However, in some of those games where Grambling State, another non-conference game, can't think of who it is, but it's a lesser opponent. Some of those Big Ten schools that are not the Penn States or the Michigans in that caliber, you may see Brian Hartline realize, I can tap into that cat, and I can tap into him, and I can get him some more playing time, because those are going to be valuable minutes and reps for those guys and their development moving forward. Receivers, I got 6. Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Brandon Ennis, Bryson Rogers, Quincy Porter, and Mylan Graham. Now, the last two are probably not going to be in the top and consistently playing in the receiving room. However, it wouldn't shock me if they do enough to show Brian Hartline, hey, allow me to introduce myself to college football in the horseshoe on this big stage because of the things they've done in practice and the things that they believe they provide to the offense. Not just they say themselves, the players, that the coaches believe these young men provide to the offense. On the tight end room, I only got 2 guys listed. I could have listed 4. Will Kazmarek and Max Clare. I'm not going to gloss over Will Kazmarek. Phenomenal blocker as a tight end. One of those things that cannot go unnoticed and needs to be talked about more because there are not a lot of tight ends in college football that can block like him. I mean, it's a luxury. The kid was an Ohio Bobcat, and all of a sudden he transferred to Ohio State and did great in year 1 and in year 2. He's not a Cade Stover. He's not. He doesn't have the potential of being that type of dual threat, being able to be great in blocking and also being great as a pass catching tight end. But I think he has better hands than what you might think. And I think moving forward, you might see Julian saying utilize him in the passing game maybe more than people might project him to be. Because I can see him having better numbers in the fall, having a bigger piece of the pie. Of course, I hope he stays healthy. Unfortunately, he had an injury this past year that kept him out of a couple games. But I think Will Kazmarek and Max Clare are going to be nightmares for opposing defensive coordinators. Let's backtrack a little bit because I mentioned Quincy Porter, 5-star receiver. It's a true freshman. He's not jumping Mylan Graham with a depth chart. Let's not get it twisted. That's not going to happen. However, if there's a guy that could be a newcomer that could get on the field, it's Quincy Porter. Yeah, he may get on the field quicker than David Adolph and some other guys that have been there for 3 or 4 years because he's more talented. Now, Mylan Graham a year ago as a true freshman didn't play that much. That's also not a problem. When you have Jeremiah Smith, Carnell Tate, Emeka Buka, and Brandon Ennis, those 4 guys are going to dominate most of the snaps. But also, Mylan Graham got hurt his senior year of high school. Actually came to where I live, and I cover high school basketball. I was talking to my uncle before the game and said that Mylan Graham was hurt and wasn't able to play that game. And that may have lingered a little bit into him getting on campus. I don't know. I don't have the knowledge of that right now, but I do know as a true freshman, especially behind those guys, you're probably not going to play. But let's just say he was fully healthy and just development was moving right along, but you're behind 4 dudes. That's cool, man. But he has a great shot, a great opportunity right now to be that the 5th receiver behind Bryson Rogers. That is going to be a lot of fun to watch. And as Brian Hartline went from being the OC to the co-OC back to the OC, he got to get a lot of growth in the past couple of seasons. 2023, Ryan Day called plays, but all of a sudden he was right there, having a bigger piece of the pie, having a bigger voice, and being more implemental in the game plans. And then 2024, he was a co-OC behind Chip Kelly, but he learned a lot. He got to learn a lot from Chip Kelly and Chip Kelly's way of doing things, not just in orchestrating an offense and putting a game plan together, but also in some of the run schemes and the run creativity that Chip Kelly brought to Ohio State. Brian Hartline was right there with that. And if he's the OC right now at Ohio State, I think moving forward, we can all expect him to be a little bit more creative in the game plans every single week to try to tap into every single weapon Ohio State has. Now, the tight end room, I didn't mention two guys because I only wanted to stop with the top two, but I did list more receivers. So why not go to Bennett Christian and Jelani Thurman? Jelani Thurman has a lot to do to be able to win me over to say he is a guy that is going to get a lot more playing time than he did this past season. Because this past year, he was the fourth tight end. This upcoming year, he's going to be the fourth tight end. And honestly, I don't think there's anything he can do. I mean, there is some things he can do. I just don't think it's going to happen to where he's going to jump Bennett Christian on the depth chart. I think Bennett Christian has that tight end 3 spot locked down, just like he did a year ago. And I think Jelani Thurman, he has the height, he has the speed, he has a lot of traits. For some reason, it just doesn't look like he puts everything together on the football field. And so if I'm Jelani Thurman, is it the weight room? Do I got to be a better blocker? Do I have to be a better route runner? We know the hands got to get better, but what is it? What combination of things do I got to do to be able to move up and jump Bennett Christian? I don't know, man, because Bennett Christian's a better blocker. And if you're a better blocker at Ohio State, that's all you won me over. Will Kazmarek is not a better receiving threat over Max Clare. He might not even be a better receiving threat over Bennett Christian, but he played more than the other guys because of his run blocking ability. It was phenomenal. G. Scott Jr., not the best blocking tight end. But why did he play more? Because he had a trait, he had a skill set that was a big asset for Ohio State. The first couple of playoff games this past year, the one against Tennessee, they went to G. Scott early, and then the very next game did a route for G. Scott Jr. that he ran in the game against Tennessee, that he did a variation of it against Oregon and had a big play. I forget which game it was. Was it the Tennessee game? Maybe it was a Texas game. He had the big catch against Oregon on the, I think, very first play of the game. Kind of set the tone about, we're being a little bit more creative. And it was a game, forget which one, that G. Scott Jr. caught the ball on the sidelines, could have gone down, then all of a sudden he kept fighting and turned it into a 4th and 2. And that moment kind of spoke volumes about me, about G. Scott Jr. and the intangibles, the little things. No, he wasn't the best or the best blocker or the most all-around tight end. He wasn't. But there were intangibles that he brought to the table. And I could go down every single player: James Peoples, C.J. Donaldson, Sam Williams-Dixon. I even think Turbo Rogers and Bo Jackson are going to compete for that third running back spot and have a legitimate shot to do so. From the 6 receivers I have written down on my paper and the 2 tight ends, Will Kazmarek and Max Clare, everybody does something special. But also there are certain intangibles certain players possess, Jeremiah Smith being one of them, at the top of the list anyway, that possesses so many intangibles, and they show big on the football field that you can't do anything else but put that man out there and let him ride. And so moving forward, tap into all the weapons. Go 4 wide, go 5 wide. I don't care. I've been saying that for a couple years now. 4 or 5 wide, tap into them, let those players ride, let them do what they do best. But Brian Hartline has so many weapons to choose from his own room to the other rooms, the other skill positions on the offense. It's going to be a lot of fun to watch for you and I to watch these guys play football in the fall. It's also going to be fun to see who call plays for the Buckeyes off in the 2025. Well, Ryan Day gave us an answer about who that's going to be. I'll tell you next. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. When the game tips off, the NBA action is just getting started, and there's no better place to get in on it than FanDuel. It's America's #1 sportsbook. With FanDuel, you can place live bets throughout the game, so even if you miss the opening tip-off or want to bet on a fourth quarter comeback, you can stay in the action. And if you're looking for a bigger payout, You can even combine your live bets into a same game parlay. I love using FanDuel's live betting feature because it keeps every moment of the game exciting. Whether I'm backing my team for a late game rally or picking a player to hit a clutch three, I never feel like I've missed my chance. Plus, the app is easy to use, and when you win, you get paid instantly. Right now, new FanDuel customers can get $150 in bonus bets if your first $5 bet wins. Just visit FanDuel.com to join today. That's FanDuel.com for your shop at $150 in bonus bets. Make every moment more with FanDuel, the official sports betting partner of the NBA. Thank y'all for tapping and Locked on Buckeyes and making this Feel Good Friday show your first listen of the day. There are a lot of new faces and new people tapping into the show at this point of the off season. Make sure you tap in and follow and subscribe to Locked on Buckeyes on the YouTube or wherever you get your fine podcast. Got the podcast version where you can listen to it while you're driving to work or maybe getting a workout in. Got the YouTube. Maybe in the morning you want it on in the background as you're running around the house getting ready for the day. Put the kids on the couch, put the kids in the living room, and they can enjoy the show with you. My son does it in the morning. Trust me, he starts saying dad, and I'm like, oh, I'm not there to see it. I get a little video, and it reminds me about how special it is to have so many options to tap in Locked on Buckeyes. It's also very special to have Brian Hartline on Ohio State's coaching staff and his experience being there under a couple coaches, his experience being the OC in 2023, being the co-OC in 2024. Those are all things that have led Ryan Day to make the decision that Brian Hartline is going to call plays in 2025. And many people right now, when I say that, they're thinking, yes, Brian Hartline finally get the chance. And there's some of you out there thinking, oh boy, here we go. A first-time offensive play caller in 2025. Yeah, Hartline's a Buckeye. He did great things when he wore the Scarlet and Gray as a player. He's doing great things and he's wearing the Scarlet and Gray as a coach. Oh boy, like first-time offensive play caller. This isn't going to go well. Don't be a Debbie Downer. Don't be a negative Nancy. Don't be that guy. Trust me. I have my own hesitations about it. I have my own things that make me nervous about a first-time offensive play caller in 2025, especially when you're going up against Texas, who is expected to start Arch Manning in 2025, who is probably going to be a Heisman finalist. If he progresses like we think he is going to, there's a good shot you could have Julian Sand and Arch Manning if they both develop like they're expected to in 2025. They both could be Heisman finalists, and that'll be a fun little battle at the beginning of the season. All of a sudden, you see, well, those two guys battled week one, and now they're battling for the Heisman at the end of the regular season. In regards to the first-time offensive play caller, I don't think Ryan Day would put Brian Hartline in this situation if he did not have the full trust in Hartline's ability to get the job done. Ryan Day recently did an interview with 10 TV, and I didn't get a glimpse of who the interviewer was. So I could think of the face. I can't think of the name of the person that did it. But Ryan Day detailed and talked about Hartline and his growth as a coach, and even has a belief that he's going to be a phenomenal coordinator in 2025, which is what you want your head coach to believe. The guy that promoted you want him to believe that you're going to be a phenomenal coordinator in your first year, not just having the role, but first year having the call plays to the Buckeyes. But Ryan Day went back in detail. 2023, he got the promotion to OC. 2024, co-OC. Chip came in. And that's a humbling of yourself, knowing that you were right there as the OC. You were running the offense, having a bigger piece of the pie. All of a sudden, Ryan Day's mentor, Ryan Day's friend, your former coach comes in and takes your job. A lot of guys wouldn't be able to handle that. Hartline did. And Ryan Day discussed in that interview the things that Brian Hartline did at the end of the season that showed his growth, that showed his ability to do some great things with installing the passing concepts for the week, and showed that he's ready. He is ready for this. There's a reason why Brian Hartline has been called by numerous schools every offseason to come interview for various head coaching jobs or an offensive coordinator job. Brian Hartline was on an interview, I believe this was with the Pivot, and discussed his aspirations to be an NFL head coach. I don't know if that's changed since the time of that interview, but I think that speaks volumes about Hartline and what he wants in the future and down the road in his coaching career. And this is the next step. Maybe the Cincy job wasn't the right time. Maybe West Virginia interviewing him to be the next head coach there for the Mountaineers. Maybe it wasn't the right time. But I think this is the right time for Brian Hartline to call plays. As nervous as I am about it, I'm going to say a statement that I made when we discussed Matt Patricia being the head coach of the Buckeyes defense this year. You can trust Ryan Day. Ryan Day doesn't botch these types of hires at all. Yeah, he got it wrong with Kerry Coombs of 2020 and 2021. Outside of that, you can look at every coordinator hire on both sides of the ball, and you can realize Ryan Day has got it done. Jeff Hafley, Greg Madison, got it done. Bringing in Chip Kelly, got it done. I don't think Brian Hartline being the OC in 2023 was a problem. I truly don't at all. I think that was a phenomenal promotion, and I don't think Ryan Day was fully ready to hand over play calling duties to Brian Hartline at that time. Retaining Kevin Wilson, phenomenal. It was a great job by Brian. Bringing in Jim Knowles, phenomenal. Matt Patricia, I'm telling you, if you look past the personality stuff and you just look at ball, Matt Patricia knows ball. Matt Patricia knows how to run a defense. If you want to go back and look at the players he's coached and positions he's coached while in New England and look at, oh, okay, he was a linebackers coach here. Look, he was a safeties coach here. He ran the defense from 2012 to 2017. Go back and look at it. Look at how many Pro Bowlers he's had in their positions when he was a position coach or when he was the D coordinator, and look at how many guys were all pros. And I think it's going to give you a great snapshot of the type of ball coach he is. Yeah, there's a personality thing, but that's with anybody. There's the things that happen legally. Trust me, you could do some digging on a lot of people. What happened with him? I'm not going to excuse it. That was bad. Trust me. That was really, really bad. But a lot of people have things. I don't think Ryan Day would have brought him in and handed him the job if he didn't think he was the right man for it, and if he did not go through his own process to figure out what kind of man this is, what kind of coach he is, if he's learned some things along the way. Maybe he even humbled himself. And I know I'm lifting up Matt Patricia while lifting up Brian Hartline. These are the two coordinators. You got Hartline running the offense. You have Matt Patricia running the defense. They're going to be people that talk bad about both decisions that Ryan Day has made to promote Hartline and to bring in Matt Patricia. There are always going to be negative people. Always. Not just in sports. There are people at all places. You could go to the eye doctor and somebody in there is being negative too. Why? Bro, you're getting your eyes checked to make sure your eyes are straight so you can look and you can see clearly. Man, but I don't like this doctor. Go pick a different one. Man, it's a far drive to get somebody else. Okay, cool. You want to go to the closest one? There are other doctors all around that can help you out. You don't like this doctor? Go pick a different one. You can trust Ryan Day. I have trust in Ryan Day. A lot of trust in Day to get this done. I have no idea how much longer Hartline or even Matt Patricia will be at Ohio State. Matt Patricia could be gone after a year. He could be here for the next 10. Brian Hartline could be gone after a year, or he could be here for another 10. I have no idea. But what I do know is I think Brian Hartline's ready for this, as nervous as I am. I think Hartline's ready for this opportunity. As nervous as I am, not as nervous with Hartline calling plays, with bringing Matt Patricia in, the man knows ball. He understands what it takes to coach an elite defense. And I think he's going to bring in some different looks and be more creative with the defensive fronts and the overall schemes Ohio State's using that are going to confuse opposing defenses. I'm going to make a quick comment here and then close up shop. I didn't know why it's turned into a Matt Patricia pump up fest, but it needed to happen today on a Feel Good Friday. Let's leave on a happy note. One thing with Matt Patricia that really annoyed me when I was younger was his ability to get the best out of his position rooms. And he was the linebacker coach for the Patriots from 2006 to 2010, the safeties coach for the Patriots in 2011, and then from 2012 to 2017, he was their defensive coordinator. And as I have been a Colts fan my entire life, that man found a way to get those linebackers and safeties to mess up the Colts offense. And when I think back to the Patriots defense, what do they have? They ran a 3-4 religiously. That's the one defense that tripped up an elite quarterback in Peyton Manning. 3 down linemen, 4 linebackers. It was so creative. Peyton Manning could not figure it out. And in college football, Nick Saban's ran a 3-4. Kind of been a little bit creative with it, but what do you find? It trips up opposing quarterbacks. And moving forward for Ohio State, I know Ryan Day's been training towards more of a 3-down look or a 3-4 defense for Ohio State. I think this is the right move. Even if they go to a 3-3-5, there's nothing wrong with it. And I think Matt Patricia's creativity and experience is going to be able to tap into all of the talent that Ohio State has to utilize maybe a 4-3, a 3-4, a 3-3-5, a 4-2-5. You can use the same personnel, create different looks that will confuse different quarterbacks. If Matt Patricia's defense has confused Peyton Manning and confused a lot of the elite quarterbacks in the NFL, what makes you think they wouldn't confuse some elite college football quarterbacks? They're college football quarterbacks. They're not the National Football League. They're not at that elite level there. Not yet. Some could be. But then some guys realize they're not good enough to go there. Put your faith in Matt Patricia to get it done, to be a phenomenal head coach of the Buckeyes defense in 2025. Thank y'all for tapping in Locked On Buckeyes here on a Friday. Nick, and for making this show your first listen of the day. I can't talk. Hopefully this goes a little bit smoother. For your second listen of the day, make sure you tap in to Locked On Big Ten because my guy, Greg Sheeman, is the guy that puts the Big Ten first when everyone else overlooks it. Find Locked On Big Ten on the YouTube or wherever you get your fine podcasts. You can follow me on any social media platform at jstevens07. Send every email to jstevens317@gmail.com. This has been Locked On Buckeyes here on a Feel Good Friday. We'll see you next time.